Hello and good morning, feeders. Today is October 4th, 2021, and my name is DJ. Joining me today, as always, we have Feeder Finance Patrick. Pat, if you'd like to say hello to everybody.
Hi, guys.
So, as usual, we're going to start with the TLDR before we get into the meat and potatoes of our update. So, AutoFarming likely to launch in this upcoming week. Our AutoStaking BNB AUTOv2 Compound is launched with some very juicy APYs there. We've taken priority of Backend work this week over some minor updates on our to-do list, but we will be, jumping back to getting some more minor updates and bug fixes out after AutoFarming. We're looking to update our roadmap and continue our strategy discussion post-AutoFarming. We've requested an ETA from CoinTelegraph, and we actually have some further news on that later in this update. And successful partnership discussions. A lot of good stuff going on in the background here, and they will take effect post-AutoFarming. So, getting into our core updates, let's talk about AutoFarming, because it seems like everything else is happening after that. So, you want to take it away from here, Pat?
Yeah, sure, thanks.
Sure.
So in terms of progress for AutoFarming, so there are a couple of pieces we need to put together, right? You start with the whole infrastructure, so you get the smart contracts done, and we have that completed. We've run tested the smart contracts. It's all working as intended. And it's, basically, like I've said before, we've actually used those before. For Belt, for instance, is technically an AutoFarming contract, so it's audited and all good on that front. The converter is done. What we're working on is getting all the APIs sort of in order. Rafael is working on a whole lot of APIs right now because we need to prepare all the APYs number, the TVL numbers, and all of that need to then be linked up with the front end, to show. And we're also working, and actually in our weekly update, the written format, I've mentioned that we'll likely release some of those work for the auto staking in the coming days, and we have already sort of launched that for auto staking. And what you'll see there is basically we have collected the performance data of our vaults. And you'd have these two lines showing, what the returns would be since inception of the vault, what the returns would be had you only, been holding the token itself, and compared that with if you were to deposit those tokens into the vaults, what the extra sort of returns would have looked like. So that's what we've also, will be doing for AutoFarming. And so that's what we're sort of completing in terms of the APIs. And then, then once you're done with the product page, we need to be able to link that up with the portfolio page as well. So we're working on that, and we're thinking, or we're planning to actually split these two into two sections. So we have the auto staking now, and then we'll have another for AutoFarming, because they're technically different tokens. Right, because you're either depositing a single asset, so a single token, or you're depositing an LP token, so they should probably be separated. And then once all of that is done, we'll touch everything up visually for the whole designs and everything. And I think we're still pretty good on this week, because as you see, like the design is sort of would probably look similarly to what we have now on auto staking that we've just launched today. And I can probably give some more color in terms of what we're thinking about. And so what you're seeing now is a product page, right? When you go to invest and then you click onto these different options, what you're seeing is a product page. So it's almost like when you're buying, mutual funds or whatever investment product, you have like a tear sheet. With some information about the product, some historical returns, and all of that stuff. And we'll eventually add more information as we go, as we have more data, more time to build more APIs to gather data. We'll add more to the product page. But what we're also thinking is there's a potential or an actual plan actually for a token page and an LP token page, for instance, where you would have more detailed information on the token itself or the LP token itself, because we're also working on APIs to do that, but we didn't want to put it all inside this one page where we're selling the product.
Yeah, that'd get a bit muddled there.
Yeah. So we have more data, and also working on more data in the background. So we'll separate that out. But I think and what all of this does then is allows us to pull different data from different pages. Like we'd have at the moment 60, we'd have over 100 vaults with their own data, and we'd have multiple dozens of tokens, and probably maybe at some point 100 tokens and LP tokens, which with all their own data, and we can then pull all of that together into a market data page where you can sort of see a high level overview of the markets and where they are in terms of prices or returns and the APYs and all of that. So it's we're building things that are sort of all these smaller pieces, but they slowly come together. So that's sort of the insights into what we're sort of doing at the moment for auto farming. Yeah,
I think I really like how you guys are taking the approach to bring traditional finance standards and rules and things that typically work there and bringing them into DeFi. I feel like that's something that's definitely missing from the space. So yeah, big kudos there. I think that'll be super nice for people that are in traditional finance to be able to quickly look over, see their market data all aggregated as such, and have it look familiar to them. That's going to be very helpful. So kudos. It looks like next we've had some further discussion with CoinTelegraph. Would you like to get into that a bit there, Pat?
Yep. So I mentioned I checked in with them late last week, and so apparently there are some technical difficulties on their side where we submitted. So they send us a form, a Google form where we put in the information that they require, and I did that first week since we signed. And apparently there's a 1 week gap where they couldn't or didn't know that we submitted because it wasn't showing up on their end. So, that's their explanation for, the delay that we've been seeing. But they confirmed that they're still working on it, and I've requested for an ETA. And the sales rep was telling me that she'll get that for us, and I'll let you guys know when I have that.
So you guys will know as soon as we know. Perfect.
Exactly.
And then some very juicy things going on in the background. I can't spoil anything here, guys, and I wish I could. But it looks like the partnership discussions are moving forward quite swimmingly. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah. We mentioned we had 2 successful conversations with 2 wallet providers, one of which actually just raised a lot of money with big name top tier VCs. So they're sort of a big deal. Actually, both are a big deal in their respective markets and spaces. And for one of which we've sort of done our part of the implementation, but are waiting for them to get their part sort of done. And they've been busy with their VC stuff at the moment, and so we're waiting for them. For the other partner, they're waiting for us because we need to implement, and it's not something we can do quickly. So we're sort of pending that to after we launch auto farming, when our resources start to be more abundant and we can reallocate resources for everything else. But otherwise, we're still inactive, trying to go out there and gather, or make ourselves known and connect with other projects and try to get a partnership going. There's good stuff happening in the background, which I can't talk about, but you'll find out when you do. And so good things happening, yeah.
Definitely some good things happening. Oh, God, I wish I could spoil it. On that note, though, do you want to talk about what happened last week? It seems like the markets were a bit crazy coming out of some recent news from China. Supposedly, China, for the 100th time now, has banned cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to sort of, spend maybe 10, 15 minutes at most, just quickly recapping what's been happening over the past, I guess, a month.
Sure.
Because the entire crypto market and initially was sort of spoiled because of the whole Evergrande situation, which is affecting the macro, TradFi market, and then China, started banning crypto again for the 100th time. But I guess the thing that, and if you were around at the time, you realize that the 2017 crash was a lot of it was China driven as well.
Yep.
So and we've had a couple of China, but after that, but it didn't really affect us because they weren't too serious with their announcement. This time though, they are, and in a sense, this is a good news in the bad news, because it's finally over. In my view, it's finally over, where they're done with flooding.
Right.
Because every single crypto related business are leaving China, shutting down, and what else can they do? Because mining is done, trading is done, swapping is done, owning I don't think is done, but all of those. And the good news in that is that all of the Chinese investors are now having to move into decentralized platforms and networks, and that's actually good news, right? Because now you have the potential for, every new dollar that's going into crypto from China is going into decentralized platforms and networks, and most of that probably into Ethereum first, but it'll trickle down into all the other layer ones and layer twos, BSC included. And I think one of the largest effects that we saw was that trading volumes of the XEY, for instance, spiked heavily, and their token price shot up. I guess like 100% or something like that, and that's a lot of it was China situation that's driving their trading volumes. And so I think, and crypto's usually, the entire DeFi system is the foundation of that is trading, because that's where the yields from the LPs are coming from, and that's where the yields then goes into yield optimizers and where the lending and borrowing platforms are getting their yields, because people are trading and trying to leverage and so on and so forth. So seeing higher trading activities on the decentralized platforms is good news for DeFi, because that means more money is coming in and there are more yields to be had. And who knows, maybe the fact that our BNB vaults are, that is offering 100+%, some of it might as well be, Chinese investors trying to lever themselves up on BNBs. Who knows, right? Because, we've never seen, at least not in the last 5 months, BNB lending rates or utilization rate at such high levels.
Right. How do you feel about the fact that Bitcoin miners, I believe it's more than 50 or 60% of the hashing power comes from China? I can imagine the same probably goes throughout for most other cryptocurrencies as well, but with Bitcoin being the #1 cryptocurrency in the world, do you feel as if the network difficulty will adjust accordingly? It seems like it's going to go down quite a bit, which will make the cost of creating 1 Bitcoin cheaper. Do you think that could have a negative impact on the price of Bitcoin, or do you think that the overall global market conditions will continue to allow Bitcoin to flourish despite how much easier it should be to mine 1 Bitcoin?
I mean, I think in the end, I'm a believer of markets being not perfectly efficient, but relatively efficient.
Okay.
And as long as it is profitable to mine, there will be actors coming online to mine it. And I guess the good news is that it's not as centralized from the mining front as it was, because when you have most of it getting mined within one country,
Right.
and arguably a country that, has oversight into their business, the businesses that are run in their country, then I feel like this is a good development, or
Positive development.
good
Yeah.
like yeah, a positive development for Bitcoin, and I guess for proof of work, businesses that are helping proof of work, even though we're probably apart from Bitcoin, shifting over to proof of stake and other ways of mining going forward.
Well, that's true, but I feel like there's also a centralization risk with proof of stake. That's a debate for another day, though.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you fully. I definitely think it'll be interesting to see the broader crypto market and just money in general move out of China and into the DeFi market. That was something I hadn't even thought about, honestly. I just associate China with being this autonomous being off in the east that just kind of functions in its own bubble. Because here in the West, it's very difficult to access any Chinese media, Chinese anything. So from whatever we do here through the cracks, it's very interesting to see how it truly does function over there. So
Yeah, and I mean, on the other hand, you have, even though there's some FUD going on coming from the US, but still, I guess, the recent news with Jay Powell, for instance, and the Fed reviewing, CBDC research, and reviewing the possibility of that is good news.
right.
And they're reviewing, I guess they're reviewing Bitcoin ETF still. And, they're not outright saying no, and it makes sense for them to allow for Bitcoin ETFs to happen, because if you have those in Europe and you have those in Canada, it doesn't make sense for the SEC to say no to this, because they're losing business, and
Yep.
the US does not want to lose
Nope.
financial services business. That's their right. So I think the argument is strong for eventually supporting, if they support one ETF, all the rest of them that are in the pipeline will get approved really quickly, and you'll start to see that retail and institutional money coming into Bitcoin. And as we all know, Bitcoin is where it starts, but eventually it trickles down into the rest of it. And so there's still a lot of good news that are something to look for in terms of, and it's all about movement of capital. Crypto is not unlike any other asset class. It all comes down to how money is moving around, out of equities, out of bonds, and if we're seeing this route in the equities and bond market still happening, it might as well, with how small the size of the asset class is for crypto, part of it might as well come into crypto. So that's, all of this is really good news. I only see good news, and I might be biased, but I only see good news, even though there's some short-term FUD, but it's all looking pretty good.
Yeah, no, I overall, and this is not financial advice, but overall,
It is
I
not.
agree
Yeah.
that I am looking incredibly bullish towards crypto in the next year or so, even just in the next 6 months. There's a lot of good things, like you said, coming for it, and I think that Jay Powell's admission that they will not be taking any legal action against Bitcoin, and in fact are looking to help it flourish in such a way, incredibly different from what's going on in the East there in China. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of innovation coming into the industry over the next couple months. Like you said, the Bitcoin ETF should pave the way for a lot of other ETFs to come through as well. That being said, I don't think Bitcoin is held to the same standard as most other cryptos, just because it's not ruled as a security, but it is ruled as an asset or something. There's some really weird wording about how it's ruled, and so I believe Ethereum went through the same proceedings through the SEC, and they found that it was also not an asset or a security or whatever, but they have their own definitions for those. So it'll be interesting to see how future ETFs are added to the broader traditional finance market, but I believe that you are right. We will see a precedent set once the Bitcoin ETF lands. And like you said, the US doesn't like losing business, so I think we'll see it sooner rather than later, hopefully by the end of the year. That's my optimistic outlook on it anyways. If not, I think we'll see it probably Q1 2022.
Yep. not financial advice. Just
Not
for
financial
entertainment
advice.
purposes only.
For entertainment purposes only. That's goddamn right. Is there any other closing thoughts you'd like to add to this, Pat, before we say goodbye to our viewers at home?
No, I mean, I look forward to auto farming and our launch there, and putting all these pieces together and keep putting more pieces together to build our platform. So it's fun, and appreciate everybody's support, and talk to you soon.
Yeah. In case you're feeling like we're dragging ass here, just remember where we were 3 months ago. A white web page, like 2 text boxes, a few things here and there. Insane APYs. A lot of that's changed since then. We still have some really good APYs, but a lot has changed in 3 months, and I think it'll be interesting to see where we are 3 months from now. So I'm excited for it. I'm here for it, and I can't wait to see what happens. So here's to the future. To our users at home, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, all that other fun jazz. Be sure to DM us with any questions you have about this week's update, and yeah, we'll see you guys in the chat. Thanks for tuning in.